Okay, welcome back to the channel, guys. So, back to the Revo slot Datsun 510. I haven't sold it. So what I decided after thinking about it was actually I'm just gonna tune it up and yeah, see how it goes. So I have actually set it up to a point. So I've set the gear mesh. Wheels go round, but it does feel like it's either binding slightly, which I think could be the rear axle holders. So that needs checking out. But I have put it around the track and it's doing 3 seconds for a lap, which is not too bad. It does go pretty well. But so does my Scalextric rally start car, which is also non-mag and is only just a little bit slower than this. So I kind of feel like there's a bit of performance to be had out of it, a bit more performance to be had out of it. Now, when I got this car, the axle was sloppy, a lot of side-to-side movement, so I've sorted that out. But and the body's sorted out. That was pretty. In the end, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so let's tear the car down and we'll have a little look at what we can do. I am used to tuning cars, building my own cars. I've also built another Revo slot, which is the Porsche GT2. That actually works absolutely fine. I did have a little bit of an issue with that in terms of the chassis coming apart, but thread lock is probably needed just to make sure it doesn't, which I don't really agree that you should have to thread lock a chassis together. I've never ever come across another hobby car that you have to thread lock together. Even cars that I've built from pretty much scratch never had to thread lock those, so I don't really understand that, but there we go. And at the moment this sounds like a bag of nails going around the track. It doesn't sound great, so we need to see if we can quieten it down. Probably going to true these tires, and they only really need a light sanding because they are quite a soft compound, so they will naturally kind of true themselves a little bit, but you do actually need a slight truing because they're not going to wear evenly otherwise. So you can see that they've still got the lines on here from where they came out the moldings, and the car actually pulls to one side when the car brakes, so I'm going to have a look at that as well. But yeah, let's tear it down. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just undo these 4 screws here. You can see the front 2 have been screwed down quite far into the body, and then the back ones have been eased off for float, and that's just so that these wheels can move around. So you do have to do that on these Group 2 cars. You don't have to do these on some of the other Revo cars, so it's slightly different. The chassis works slightly differently on these. So let's take these off, open the car up and see where we go from there. So you should really have a pot or a tray for all your bits. That's why when I go racing, I always lose my screws because I just don't care, and I just should care a little bit more. So but it's fine. We're not going to lose the screws. They'll be fine there. Let's take these screws out. I haven't had any issue with these screws or the grub screws. I have had issue with the hex bolts for the motor, which is, I believe, is a common issue on all Revo slots. Another thing is that the bolts are different between cars. So my Porsche has different bolts compared to this car, which is a bit annoying really. They're supposed to be 1.5 and one of the bolts is pretty much rounded off, and I've only adjusted it once. So, and I'm not using a cheap driver at all. I'm using this Revo 1.5 hex. So I actually got this when I first did my Revo white kit, and put it away. And could I find it? No. And couldn't even remember that I actually bought this. So I was thinking, oh, it must have been an Allen key. And then I finally remembered and found this. So yeah, so that's what you need. Right, so body, pop that over there, and let's have a look at the chassis. So okay, so first thing I'm going to do is loosen off the motor. So 1.5 on the bolts. These two bolts are fine. It's this bolt that I had an issue with. So this bolt is pretty much, the head is pretty much stripped on it. So I'm not very happy about that, Revo. That is not good quality, is it? It's nothing that I have done wrong. I haven't over tightened it. I haven't done basically anything with it. This is all loose now, you can see. So off with the tires, and actually straight away if I turn this tire inside out, don't know if you can see, but I've actually got pieces of metal. There's actually a tear in the tire as well. So on this, if I turn this tire inside out, you can see here that there's a tear in the inside of the tire. Not very good. So the quality of these, so there's metal shards all on the inside and a huge gash on the inside here. Again, it's nothing that I have done. This is just how it's arrived. This is the kind of quality you're expecting after you're paying a lot of money for your car. Let's just see if it's the same on this tire. Again, on this tire, well, actually it seems like potentially it's where they've been molded. So it's not actually a tear, it's kind of where they've been molded. But on the other tire, this is completely taken out. I've never really seen that on any other tire before. It's not exactly great, and it's probably a weak point in terms of the tires wearing through, because if they've already only got half the tread on this particular area, it's going to wear through pretty quick. But that's just an observation. Okay, so let's I think what we need to do is line these axle holders up. So first thing I'm going to do is take the wheels off. So same 1.5 hex. Now these grub screws are absolutely fine, no issues with these at all. So there's one wheel, spacer. Take the gear assembly off. You do not need to start messing around with this. It's just the other side. So keep that as it is. Put that to one side. And now we can start having a look at these. So dead simple. Loosen them off. We don't want to take them out. We can pop the I'm just going to get a different screwdriver actually. We can pop the bearings out. So let's get those out. I'm trying not to damage them at all. They have actually got grease. There's a lot of grease, whether that was grease on between the spacer and there. So that is good to see that they've actually got grease on there. So Marty put them in lighter fluid. I don't really think that's necessary. They should be lubricated from the factory. If they're not, then that's not great, is it? For an RTR car, I would be expecting them to be lubricated. So, I mean, that's what it says, RTR, on the... So, let me just... Okay, so, bearings are out. And started to undo these. So it is worth noting that if you use the wrong tool, so this is obviously not the right size, then you can't complain if you start stripping heads off screws. So, but my point was I was using the correct tool and the bolt's still stripped on this particular bolt, which is, in my opinion, completely unacceptable. So yeah, anyway, let's not dwell on that. Right, so we need to check that the axle sits in line. Now, Marty had a tool to do this. And what I'm going to see if I can use is just a screwdriver, thick screwdriver, because that's the only thing that I've really got on hand to use. But you can use any pipe that kind of fits pretty much, but you know, just get it as good as you can get it. That's all you can do. And you want to try and get these lined up so there's no binding and everything moves nice and freely. So let me just go and get that tool, and we'll get to that. Right, okay, so this is not the best way to do it, but it's kind of the way I'm going to do it. So I'm going to put this in, I'm going to pull it right back. So that should mean that in theory these holders are at the same distance. I'm then going to tighten it up and then reset the mesh. So yeah, so we're looking for an overall improvement on lap times. So from 3 seconds to under 3 seconds. So just tighten those back up on there. Obviously, if you've got the right tool, or want to pay extra for the right tool, then that's up to you. But let's put that back together and see if that's a bit smoother. So just retighten, make sure these are nice and tight. They want to be fairly tight, but obviously you don't want to over tighten them. If anyone knows the correct torque rating for these, let me know. Okay, so bearings can go back in. Right. Let's put that back in. Make sure obviously the gear is on this side. Right, let's get that put back together. Feels better, but until you've got everything back on, let's just have a look. So we're going to knit this all back up. Sorry, just realised that that was a bad view. Right, so we've got that set up now on the back wheels, and we can move on to the next bit, which is resetting the mesh and truing the tires, gluing and truing the tires, and we'll see how that does after that. I'm not going to bother taking the whole chassis to bits and testing out the flatness of the chassis. I just can't be bothered to do that. If I was racing this at the club, then obviously I'll go a bit further, and yeah, but we'll see what lap times this does with the modifications that I've made. Well, adjustments, not modifications. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right, guys, so I've got the car back together, set the mesh up, and it's not running. The mesh isn't great, so I need to readjust that. The problem is this bolt was now stripped as well as that, and all I literally did was undo it, tighten it back up. I mean, come on. For a hobby grade car, you should be able to undo this as many times as you want, and set the mesh. And these shouldn't be stripping, and I'm not over tightening them. It's the right driver. There's just an issue with these bolts. I'm going to buy some new bolts, but I shouldn't have to do that, should I really? So anyway, before I reset the mesh, let's just have a look at these. So these need to be the same on each side. The fronts need to be screwed down more. The way in which the chassis works, you've got this bit here, which is held with this screw. This adjusts how much the car is going down, but it also works on like a cantilever. So you've got your two-part chassis. So this bit's being held down, this bit moves around. So if this is screwed down too much, then the wheels can't go round. So you need to make sure these are set at the same depth to allow the wheels to go around and to balance the chassis. Same with these need to be the same height, and it should give you enough float on the back so it's not touching the body. And you've got a bit of side to side play as well. So I'm just going to reset the motor mesh, gear mesh, and get the pinion lubricated up with some tech chain grease, and we'll put it on the track to see if it's improved its time from 3-second lap. Let's see if we got it down any more now. Oh yeah, I'm going to glue and true the tires on as well.